My name is Jack Steele. I'm here on behalf of the Columbia Lab to Market Accelerator Network, L2M for short. And it's an organization that helps support and organize accelerator programs within the Columbia University ecosystem, and then also with a number of partner institutions as well. And so the Combine is one of those programs. We also have a program focused on blockchain, on cybersecurity, on clean energy technology, and then 3 programs that are focused on life science specifically at Columbia. But the thought is that there's a lot of cross-pollination that can happen between these programs. While the focus areas may be different and the types of research may be different, there's certainly a lot of kind of shared education that can happen across programs. And so I'm excited to talk a little bit about Combine today and introduce the rest of the team here.
Hi, I'm Do Shamir, Manager of Entrepreneurship here at Mount Sinai Innovation Partners, the commercialization arm of the Mount Sinai Health System, where we focus on translating our researchers and clinicians' technologies into real-world applications for our patients and society to use as a whole. Today I'll be talking a little bit about how our pitch challenge that we're going to be launching in May 2020 is going to be work synergistically with that of this accelerator program, the Combine, and others within the greater New York City area.
And hi guys, I'm Andrew Warburton. I'm a second-year medical student here at Mount Sinai. I'm really excited to present a startup that I helped co-found called Retina Technologies. I really want to talk about sort of how we started and specifically our involvement with the Media Lab and MSIP, how they've helped us grow and get to where we are now.
Great. So I'll kick it off with an introduction of the Combine program, and then we'll get into some of the details. So the Combine program is one part of a larger New York City Media Lab organization. The organization hosts a number of different events throughout the year, has a number of different corporate partners, and really is kind of at the forefront of everything related to emerging media technology, which is purposefully vague, in New York City and then also throughout the country as well. And so there's a number of different universities that are part of this consortium within the Combine program. You can see them up here with NYU, Columbia, the New School, Pratt, CUNY, SVA. And the program itself is supported both by the New York City Economic Development Corporation and the City of New York Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. There are a number of different corporate members. I'm not going to list them all here, but you can see that number of different focus areas. And really the benefit of these corporate partners is not just for the potential to work with them to develop your idea once you've graduated from the Combine program, but there are also a number of mentors that represent these companies that will come in and work kind of one-on-one with you throughout the program. And that really, is an amazing and kind of underappreciated resource for first-time early-stage entrepreneurs, is really getting that network and that base network right off the bat. And I'm sure that Andrew can speak to that a little bit later as well. So really the Combine program is interacting at a time that experimentation and problem solving is quite unique in the world, I think. I think that there are a lot of, there's been vast technological improvements in the past even 5 years to 2 years that have really shaped the way that we think about interacting with kind of the digital landscape around us. And the Combine program tries to kind of address some of those issues and work through a boot camp to bring technologies that are really at the forefront of challenging the status quo. I think that it's important to consider basic science, whether it be basic science research or all the way to commercializable intellectual property, as something that's going out and trying to solve a problem. And I think that programs like the Combine allow a different kind of frame of reference for researchers who have not thought about the potential to actually create a tangible kind of MVP and think about the commercial potential of their product. So it's really joining this community of practice. I think that the Combine obviously runs for a period of time, but I think before and after that program, once you've kind of joined the Media Lab family, that engagement doesn't really end. There is a number of events throughout the year. There's meetups. There's the annual summit that brings over 1,000 people from industry, the VC world, all in one place, thinking about what's kind of on the cutting edge of this emerging media technology. So really the benefits of an accelerator program should not be foreign to those who have interacted with an accelerator landscape before. I think the biggest benefit here is the curriculum and the training and joining that community of practice. I think the in-person sessions, being within a cohort model, working day after day, week after week with folks that are also going through the same kind of pain points of often a lot of the founders who join the Combine program have never gone through this kind of business model design, regardless of the basic science research that they're doing. I think going through that with other people is really important. Yeah, I mentioned the community of early stage entrepreneurs, and then of course the mentors and feedback. There's a lot of mentor engagement throughout the curriculum. Multiple opportunities to network them both informally and formally, and it's a really hands-on process, all the way from sending decks for review with certain mentors to preparing for a meeting with one of the corporate members and speaking to a mentor beforehand who can really prepare you for those things. I think that out in the world, it's really hard to get time from people, and I think that one of the huge benefits that the Media Lab offers is just people's time and the ability to work with them. There is startup grant funding, so successful completion of the program gives $10,000 in startup grant funding, which is obviously not a crazy amount of money, but it really does help kind of jumpstart your business from ideating through the customer discovery phase all the way to graduation, and I'm sure Andrew can speak to that a little bit more as well. Access to potential customers is huge. So this program is very customer discovery focused. There's a requirement of 100 customer interviews. Most teams do more than that, but it really is focused on figuring out what the pain point of the customer is. The idea behind a company may pivot 6 or 7 times from the moment that you start all the way until graduation, and that's really based on listening to your customers. And then, of course, story refinement and pitch practice, which, pitching to a panel of investors is very different than pitching to, peer scientists, which is also very different from pitching at kind of a general interest event. And so figuring out what those different stories look like, what kind of kernels of information resonate with different communities of people is something that is practiced time and time again through this boot camp. And then obviously, access to marketing, legal, and other professional services. And this is kind of where the Lab to Market Accelerator Network comes in. There's a number of different workshops that cut across the verticals of the accelerators, both in legal, finance, and also marketing as well. So this year is actually the debut of the tracks within the Combine program. And so we have health and longevity technology, responsible and humane technology, and then human and hybrid technology. So as you kind of read through these descriptions, if you think that your potential company, technology, business could fall into any of these tracks, we've seen examples of these companies at the bottom there. Andrews is obviously on the left, Retina Technologies, but then you also see companies like StreetSmarts VR that have gone through the program, like VidRover and GeoPipe. And so I encourage you to go on the Combine website and look through these companies. Some of them are 3 to 4 years out of the Combine and have raised a successful Series A and are really continuing to be a company, while others are still in their infancy and kind of just graduated from the program and looking for their next move. But this is the main kind of 3 tracks of the program, and each of these tracks will have kind of dedicated mentors, that can help supply expertise as well. This is the curriculum at a glance, and so it really follows quite closely. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Steve Blank's Lean Launchpad methodology, but it really follows kind of to the letter of that methodology. And as I mentioned before, a lot of that is customer discovery outside of the classroom. And then within the classroom, it's really just iterating on the idea through presenting to your peers, creating that kind of community of practice as well. And then there's also, pitch practice. How do you get ready for demo day? There's talking about revenue streams and pricing and figuring out, what your market potential is, what your actual market potential is, as opposed to, what the potential market potential is. So that's kind of curriculum at a glance. And this is the business model canvas. And so this is something that's used pretty heavily throughout the Combine program. The thought is that coming into the program, this model will probably be blank for most of you, but that throughout the program, that skeleton kind of gets fleshed out by hypotheses that are either proven or disproven through that customer discovery process and also through meeting with mentors. So, this is kind of familiarize yourself with the type of structural elements that can build out your business model. The time commitment is really important, and so it's 15 to 20 hours a week per team member. There is a session that's in person on Friday mornings from 9 to noon, and that is mandatory for team members. Super important, as I mentioned before, to have these in-person sessions to work week after week on the same type of issues, and also to kind of keep track of your progress. We really encourage people to show up to every session. I think it makes a huge difference in the quality of the work that you do in the 10 weeks, and even more so, it makes a huge difference 6 months to a year out of the program, because a lot of the learnings that you'll go through in class, you may not have access to once you've graduated the program. The customer interviews really depend on other people's schedules. Everybody has lives, right? And so that's what we would consider the out-of-class work. And scheduling that is always challenging, but teams find a way to get it done. And it's really, to your discretion as to how you split up the work with your founding team. You may come in with an idea about, what the structure of your founding team looks like, and it may turn out that both of you share the load, or, however many people are on your founding team kind of share the load of the customer interviews. It really depends on what you decide. These are some of the successful companies from the program. You see VidRover at the top left, all the way to Vet News at the bottom right. Some of these just graduated the program last year, like Indoor Buddy and Red Tech, whereas others like VidRover graduated the program 3 years ago, and as I mentioned, have raised a Series A and are still acquiring their customer base, refining their MVP, and really becoming a formidable startup in the scene in New York City. So this is kind of the timeline for the fall recruitment. Applications are currently open on the Combine website. The deadline to submit an application is November 12th. Then it'll be a few weeks of deliberation on those applications. We'll have interviews with the finalist applications from December 2nd to the 4th. And then by December 13th, just before the holiday break, we'll have a selection of the cohort. This is the application to apply. I'll leave that page up for a few seconds in case you need to jot it down or click into it. The application is really just an opportunity to tell us about your team. It's, the biggest piece of advice that I give to early stage founders applying to any of our accelerator programs is don't tell us what you think we want to hear. Tell us exactly where you are and where you'd want to be. Because I think, the expectation is that not everybody here has, a fully functional MVP and are starting to raise seed capital. The expectation is that you have an idea and you're kind of hungry to iterate on that idea, refine it through customer interviews, and really make a commitment to go through this process. So be as kind of truthful, but also as excited and energized as you can on the application to really give us a glimpse into not only where your technology is now, but where you think it could go, throughout this program, and then also, in the next few years as well. So stay in touch. I am not Justin Hendricks, but this is Justin Hendricks' email. Any inquiries can go directly to him. There's also a newsletter sign up just generally for the Media Lab as well. I'm on that listserv. It's great. It comes out once a week. There's really interesting articles that are reposted, and then also invites to the summit that is also coming up as well. So Yeah, that's all I have on the Media Lab front, and I'm going to pass it over to Dove.
Thank you. Okay, so today I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an overview of emerging technologies in healthcare at Mount Sinai Health System. Again, my name is Dove Shamir. I'm the Manager of Entrepreneurship here at Mount Sinai Innovation Partners. And this is not working. Okay. So just to give you guys a little bit of an introduction, MSIP, our mission is to basically take technologies, inventions, discoveries out of the hospital system and translate them to real-world applications into products that our patients and society can use as a whole. We are at the intersection of that translation between the School of Medicine and the hospital to existing or new companies. We help our founders and inventors, everything from evaluating the technology, patenting the technology, marketing the technology to third parties, licensing and partnering, and even coaching and training our entrepreneurs and inventors on best practices in product development and startup creation. Another end of our I would say our mission is also outreach. So we reach out as well to externals within the greater New York City area, including accelerators like Media Lab, and that's part of our goal is this year to actually get a little bit more involved in the emerging technologies, I would say startup ecosystem, specifically with accelerator programs like that. This year we will be having a workshop at their summit. We're going to be having an additional workshop in November with them, and we hope that everyone also comes to our hackathon, which I'll speak about in a couple minutes. So our office has I would say, a rich history of licensing diverse technologies to large existing companies, everything from therapeutics and diagnostics to medical devices, research reagents, and digital therapeutics and IT. Now, some of those require emerging technologies. Others are more traditional healthcare and biotechnologies. But again, the depth of our expertise runs pretty deep. If we don't end up licensing to an existing company, a lot of times we'll take the technology or asset and create a venture around it. These are an example of 6 within, I would say, the last year and a half, 2 years, some before being probably even older than that, that we've launched out of our office and Mount Sinai as a whole. Renalytics AI and Hypercell are probably the most recent. Renalytics last summer launched with an over $20 million Series A, and Hypercell with last February with over a $60 million Series A. Renalytics actually leverages artificial intelligence to diagnose and prognosticate renal disease and kidney disease in patients, and Hypercell actually focuses on creating therapeutics for cancer that are based in cancer metastases. RX Health also uses digital applications, and Semaphore leverages big data also for patient genomics, etc. Monogram and Amethyst are more traditional biotechnologies, Amethyst being in the therapeutic space, and Monogram being a biotechnology that leverages imaging for custom-made implants for like hip replacements. Now, where many of you on the line might be more interested is our emerging startups. Basically, assets that are a little bit younger and that would require incubator and accelerator kind of input in order to kind of move along. Today you'll be hearing a little bit more from Retina Technologies, but we have others that actually went through our hackathon, like Walkthrough and Demeter. Walkthrough being a device and Demeter actually being a digital app leveraging machine learning. And then we have another one from last year that actually was in our pitch challenge called Metascribe that used machine learning to help create an app for doctors to decrease physician burnout. Microprint and Lab 11 Therapeutics, again, were more traditional healthcare and biotechnologies, one being a surgical device, and Lab 11 Therapeutics trying to solve and put together a therapeutic for influenza. Now, the commonality between all these emerging startups is that they leveraged and highly used our innovation partners programming here at Mount Sinai, and all entered into our business development pipeline, which really is I would say, a highly focused pipeline, basically evaluating the technology both from the commercial point of view, technological point of view, intellectual property, and scientific points of view. So it's really a full evaluation of the technology fully through. Each one of these teams earned additional funding to further validate their ideas and continue R&D on their prototypes. They got acceptance and competed and completed high-profile incubator and accelerator programs, just like Media Lab. And they advanced to discussions with industry partners. Some formed company concepts, and others actually launched startups as well. So a little bit about our programming for the year and how this kind of leads up to our pitch challenge. We have basically a full year of programming, everything from ideation to prototype development. These are some examples of some of the major events that will be occurring like design thinking workshop, non-dilutive funding and dilutive funding primers, team mixers, and as you can see with the little money symbols along the way, we kind of intersperse our own programming around key activities as well. Our hackathon, which is I would say system-wide at Mount Sinai, is something that even externally, if you're not part of Mount Sinai, you can get involved in. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. And that has actually a cash prize at the end, assuming you win. MSIP will be running the Innovation Showcase and the Pitch Challenge this year, both of which will have cash prizes. And our pitch challenge is like any other pitch challenge. All the teams that end up into the program at the end will compete, pitch for a grand prize that's actually comparable to that of NYU's and Columbia's current venture challenges. So the amount of money that's going to be going into that will actually get you from that late prototype stage into something hopefully an MVP range. This program is really meant to leverage, I would say, inventions that are in the emerging technology space that basically have low barriers to entry, just like using, digital applications, machine learning, VR technology. And throughout this process, we offer our office hours along the way, application and pitch preparation. So we hope that you'll enter our BD pipeline, disclose the technology, and we'll help you get into other incubator and accelerator programs, just like Media Lab and others that I showed before, to kind of help validate the process. Our office is very much into customer discovery. So we're very, basically, don't build it first and then see if the customer wants it. Ask the customer what they want first and then go build it. We're very much into that mantra here, and it's not just purely with just customers alone. We like making introductions to investors along the way, basically anyone who's going to be touching the product or the potential venture at any which point. So you kind of get feedback all along the way. We put our programming in such a way that it will fit nicely with that of the incubator programs, just like eLab New York City and Media Lab. So basically, you should be able to apply at the end of this fall for both those programs, and then still participate in our pitch challenge at the end, which typically is after those 2 demo days. And at the end of this process, we hope that everyone who participates ends up in with a late prototype of some sort, and that we can help take that essentially to market either as in an existing company or as a startup. So just a little bit more about Mount Sinai and Emerging Technologies. This past year, we have a partnership with Hasso-Plattner Institute, as well as the launch of the Hamilton Ambell James Center for Artificial Intelligence and Human Health. Existing initiatives were like our Institute for Next Generation Healthcare, which really leverages big data, machine learning, and precision medicine. A good example of what came out of that particular institute was Lab 100, which is a hybrid clinic that leverages traditional medicine and clinical practice with that of emerging technologies and precision medicine, and basically every kind of new gadget you can think of to maximize the clinic experience. And just the last shout out, and this is a great way to get involved into our pipeline early on. We are highly involved, in monitoring the outcomes of the hackathon every year. Most of the time, the hackathon winners actually end up in our innovation showcase and could potentially end up this year also in our pitch challenge. And this year's topic fits very nicely with Media Lab's kind of mantra as well, the artificial intelligence, specifically in esports, memory and mental agility, social connectivity, and professional performance. And this kind of fits, I think, well with the track that you guys are launching this year. That's a little bit more health related, and this might be a good first step in kind of starting to you kind of tease out your idea in a hackathon setting amongst people, healthcare experts, biotechnology experts, and maybe start forming a team around that at our hackathon, which is October 11th through 13th this year. The winners and participants from this, many of which have gone to commercialize their technologies with Mount Sinai Innovation Partners. So if you're interested in learning more about the pitch challenge, we'll be sending to anyone on the registration list more information within the next week or two. But if you want some more immediate answers about the hackathon or anything else, please feel free to email me at dove.shamir@mssm.edu. And I think now we're going to hear a great example of a team that's kind of leveraged both our respective accelerators and programming. I'll leave it to Andrew.
Great, thanks, Dove. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Andrew Warburn. I'm a second-year medical student here at Mount Sinai, and I'm really excited to present Retina Technologies to everyone on the call, and really how we started and our involvement with the Media Lab, MSIP, from the initial concept to get where we are now. So here's the team right now. We're all a bunch of medical students here at Sinai with a range of skill sets from ophthalmology clinical experience, from business development, hardware engineering, software development. And as students at Sinai, we noticed that there was a significant deficit and a lack of access to appropriate visual screening, primarily due simply to a lack of access to vision care specialists and specifically instrumentation. So what we wanted to do was to provide the ideation of a low-cost, portable, and reliable vision screening platform to reach people without the appropriate ophthalmologic care. So we had this idea, but we still needed the catalyst and the platform to push it through. So this is really where the Media Lab and MSIP come into play. So we were accepted to the Media Lab Combine Accelerator, and through them we were able to interview over 100 people in vision, healthcare, and the tech space. And they provide amazing network opportunities, canvassing business models, and we were able to talk to leaders in these spaces that we needed, specifically VR development through like HTC, healthcare through Mount Sinai, NYU, insurance through Cigna, other technologies like Google and WebMD, and some venture capital contacts as well. On the right, we have the MSIP, who has also been extremely helpful in providing really the backbone for the company. They have helped with coordinating us with ophthalmologists at New York Eye and Ear, who've been absolutely instrumental in helping us pivot our product. We were one of the teams who participated in the hackathon, and although we didn't win, we got really great feedback from that, and we were able to take the idea that was far from perfect and translate into something that's much more usable and something that the current ophthalmologists and opticians really want. And so now what we can do is MSIP has really helped us coordinate our clinical trials. They've helped file our provisional patent, and they're really helping us get everything ready for these trials and filing for additional funds as well. So through both these contacts, we were able to really build out our idea and get a sense of how critical this product was in today's environment. And as you can see, there are over 240,000 new cases of blindness in the U.S. every year that costs almost $30 billion annually. And a lot of these cases, if caught early enough, 80% of these vision losses could be treated with early screening if they're caught. 25% of the counties within the U.S. don't have the appropriate specialists or technology to screen and treat for these diseases. So that's where we come in, and only through the Media Lab and MSIP were we able to really build up our platform. And hopefully within the next few years, even while we're in med school, we are busy, but through the family of the Media Lab and the support of MSIP, we are able to use multiple branches to reach out to different sectors, whether that's raising capital, developing our software, or building up our hardware products. We're able to continue to reach that, continue to do work through even the academic year. So hopefully we'll be able to provide a widespread screening and retail platform for non-vision specialists, expedite the screening process, and of course decrease preventable vision loss for all patients across the United States. And I would like to say, without the support of the Media Lab and MSIP, their continued, endeavors and hard work for us and with us, this vision would not have come to fruition. And I really can't express my gratitude enough to everyone here. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Andrew. So I think the best thing to do now would perhaps be to leave it up to a bit of question and answer on any of the things that you heard. I know that some folks are writing some things in the chat as well, but just wanted to leave it up to question and answer about any of the three presentations that you just saw about the Combine program itself, MSIP, or Retina Technologies specifically. Any questions at all?
Yeah, I have a small question.
Yep.
At the beginning, so hi, this is Mark. There was a mention of specifically affiliation with Columbia. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of how far the collaborations extend, kind of what kind of universities are involved, which ones aren't?
Yeah, of course, sure. So let me try to quickly just go back to that screen here for you. Let's see. This screen, correct? The mention of the university consortium, correct?
Perfect. Yeah, that's helpful.
Great. Yeah. So these are the core university partners that accept applications for the Combine program. The program is intentionally cross-disciplinary across universities, but obviously, applications are accepted from other universities and institutions that are not listed here as well.
Great, that's what I was hoping to hear. Thanks.
Yep, no worries. Any other questions? Yep, I'm just going to check the chat here, see if anybody has chimed in there. Nope.
I have a question. Thank
Yep.
you guys so much for this great presentation. You had mentioned the Media Summit, and I know there's one coming up end of September. That's like the big one of the year? Do you guys have anything available? I'm from California, so I probably won't be able to come out for this one. And I'm finishing up getting registered for the UX and UI certificate course with NYU and our labs. But I'm wondering, do you guys have anything coming up in the future that would be similar to the fairly large summit you're having in September that someone from California might be able to plan on coming and attending?
There will definitely be events in the spring. I don't think anything is as large as the annual summit, but there are kind of smaller, more focused meetups and full day kind of summits. Whereas the annual Media Lab Summit is really a focus on kind of every area that Media Lab touches. And so there are some graduates from the Combine program that will present their technologies, but then there are also kind of panel discussions, keynote discussions around the largest issues that kind of face the media industry today. And then there's also a number of different breakout rooms for demos from all the partner institutions. That kind of style of an event only happens once a year, but there are kind of smaller symposia that happen in the spring as well. I don't think any dates have been solidified yet, but please definitely join the newsletter mailing list, and also feel free to send us your specific contact, because we want to make sure that we can send you over those dates once they're solidified.
Great, thank you for that information. I have joined the mailing list, but I would love to get more connected with you guys in any way possible. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure, not a problem. Any other questions, concerns? Any questions about the call for applications within Combine? The dates were quite clear, but I'm happy to go back over them as well. All right. Well, if there are no more questions, yeah, thank you so much, everybody who joined on the call. Hopefully you learned a little bit about the different programs here, and look forward to seeing your applications and also interacting with you in the future.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.